Hey, this is Moo, and for some reason, which I'm sure isn't very good, I'm playing Elder Scrolls Online. I don't think it's a great game, not particularly innovative. I do like some of the things they did with it, but they really missed the boat on some rather key elements of an MMO, mostly having to do with the fact that it's multiplayer, but maybe I'll get into that in some other video. Right now, I have created a brand new character right here, who I created as a mule, which is why her inventory is a bunch of ore and logs and crap. And I'm going to show you how I make initial money by stealing in Glenumbra. I'm sure you can do this in other places as well. I just haven't figured out the patterns because I haven't really started a character there. So this is a brand new character, an Orc Templar. What's an Orc? What's a Templar? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. The first thing that I wound up doing, and actually you can do this right off the bat as soon as you wind up in town, is you head to the inn. And on the second floor of the inn and on the third floor of the inn, there are no NPCs, which makes it a really good place to steal. And what I'm doing here is stealing specifically for profit, and that means I'm looking for only very specific items. A lot of these little barrels and baskets and sacks and whatnot contain food ingredients, like those grapes, maybe some flour, meats sitting around in a cabinet, which I'm sure is pretty sanitary. These don't matter. You want to leave them aside unless maybe you have a specific recipe that you're looking for those ingredients for, then go ahead and take them. But in general, you're looking for the following things. You are looking for vendor trash, and there's different kinds of vendor trash. There's white vendor trash, which you'll recognize because it's worth 30 gold, like this stuffed pony guar. There's green vendor trash, which is worth 100 gold, and those are really good money. And once in a great while, you wind up with blue vendor trash, which is 250. But don't count on that a lot. Right now, I am concentrating on white vendor trash and green vendor trash, and once in a while, maybe I'll pick up a lockpick or something, because those are always useful to have around. So you run into the inn, like I'm doing now, check every single container. And don't worry, even though it's an MMO, this is one of the things that they screwed up about it being multiplayer. The fact that you're looting these containers, or someone else might be looting these containers, maybe this guy next to me, it doesn't really affect what they contain for you. So just go take a look at every container, regardless of who else is stealing, and pick up anything that's worth money. Now, why am I doing it this way instead of running around in town and, sneaking behind guards and pilfering stuff at the bank? Well, first of all, there's risk involved there. And while it's fun to do, and I did do that for quite a while just to see if I can get away with it, there's no reason to do this if your goal is just to make as much money as possible. Which is why, by the way, now we're heading to another good location, which is down here at the docks, past the guild traders and the crafting writ drop-off boxes, and we're going to go head into ships. In the cabins and below decks, there's generally no NPCs. Again, just run. Oh, there's a nice 100 gold item. Just run around and pick up all the vendor trash that you want, maybe some lockpicks if you want. Read all the bookshelves, because that can give you free skills. And load up as much as you can with stuff that you can sell. Now, if you get caught, like if you do this not in one of these locations, you get caught by the cops, you're probably best off just paying them off. But you will still lose all the items you've stolen, and so all this annoying time that you've spent running around like an idiot is not going to pay off at all, and you'll actually lose money on it. Which is one reason that I decided to stop stealing in places like the bank. Well, I still do once in a while, what the heck. So as I said, this is a brand new character, no skills, no legerdman, haven't spent any skill points, haven't spent any characteristic points. And I do this at the early levels, and I did this at the early levels for quite a few days, trying to figure out how to do this properly. Just in order to get some initial cash to do things like expand my inventory, buy more bank slots, upgrade my horse, all those things that constantly cost money that you don't have the cash for in the early going. Once in a while you'll get lucky, you'll get a lot of money, and then you'll be able to do things like shop on a guild vendor if you belong to a guild for recipes that you don't have. But you probably won't need to buy that many, because the other thing that you can pick up on these stealing runs is recipes, and I mean you get a lot of recipes doing this. You can also pick up style books, like motif books, which will allow you to work with different motif materials for your crafting, or just sell them, and those sell for a lot of money as well on guild vendors. If you're trying to make a provisioner, this is a great way to build up your initial recipe collection. You can get blue recipes, mostly green recipes, and even though you'll get a lot, you'll probably still want the money later to buy recipes, because when you try to do writs, you always seem to be missing that one recipe that you need. In my case, it was fishy sticks. Eventually, my wife found it for me and paid way too much for it, but I made so much money stealing that I didn't care. So how much money can you make doing this? Well, we'll take a look at the total at the end of the day for this character with only 50 sales slots. And it's going to be a little over 2,000, and I guess that's reasonable. It's usually about 1,000 per run if you're doing it like I'm doing it, picking up mostly white and green objects. It could be a little less if you make some mistakes. It could be a little more if you're lucky, or if you do only green items and above. But that means that it'll take a lot longer. Now, when would you want to do that? When would you want to take nothing but green objects and sell for a lot more? Well, you want to do that if you don't have a lot of slots. Maybe you only have a few characters for whatever reason, or one character. You only have 50 Legerdman slots available to sell, and you want to maximize your value. That's fine, you can do that, and you will make a lot more with that. I mean, obviously, if you simply do the math, a minimum of 100 gold per item on 50 Legerdman slots. Oh, take a look at this. Yep, there's another ship, and I have fallen in the water a lot trying to do that. Anyway, if you have 50 slots in each one, you're selling at a minimum of 100 gold. Obviously, you're making 5,000 gold per character run using this system, taking only green items. The problem is that you're going to be doing this for a lot longer. Now, the reason that I take 30 gold and above instead of limiting myself to 100 is because, yeah, this is pretty fast money, it's pretty easy money, but it's also really boring, and I can burn myself out on this very, very quickly. To the point where I would almost rather be doing anything else, which is why that I go ahead and take all the 30 gold items, so at least then I have an excuse to stop. Now, while I'm just speed running through the second ship here, let me quickly address the question of whether or not you should buy the Trafficker skill from the Legerdman skill line, which is something that you're going to get pretty quickly if you do this, in order to sell more items per day. Ooh, there's a nice green item. I did this on my main character, and I may spec out of it. And the reason that I may spec out of it is because it's convenient when you're doing it with one character to be able to just, like, you know, steal, sell, and do that more often. But as long as you have alts in an area where you know a stealing pattern kind of like this, you can just log on another alt and do it again. So that may be kind of a waste of a skill point. It's up to you to decide. I do find it makes it easier to manage how I sell my stolen goods when I do this. So now we're just about done with the second ship. We're going to leave now, and we're going to head off for the first time to the Outlaws Refuge. And this is where you sell your stuff and where you level up your Legerdman skills. You jump into the Outlaws Refuge, and in the Daggerfall Outlaws Refuge, there are 2 fences. And the fences are the people who you sell items to and who will launder items for you so that you can keep them. You launder items if you want to trade them to another character, like say you found a style book or a really nice recipe you want to give to your provisioner, or something like that. Generally, by the way, if you want to use a recipe by yourself, go ahead and use it as soon as you get it. Like you see that recipe that I picked up there, I just wasn't really paying attention. I'm going to use it myself because it's not worth giving to my other character. And you want to use it as soon as possible, because on the off chance that you do get caught by the cops, you will lose that recipe. So here I'm just selling everything that sells for a multiple of 30 or 100, and unfortunately I picked up those dumb pauldrons because I thought maybe they'd be worthwhile, so I just decided to get rid of them as well. It's a little inefficient, but I don't really care that much. Here's the recipe. I'm pondering it, but I think I'm just going to use it for myself because I can always get another one. Not a big deal. So I sold all those items now. My Legerdman skill is up, and my inventory is free enough that I can go for round 2 because I have enough sales slots left. And I'm just going to run this super, super fast. You can see here I've picked up a little over 1,000 gold in my first run, and we're going back for some more. And on an initial character with 50 sales slots, because you don't have Trafficker, you can get away, I've found in my experience, with about maybe 1.5 runs of stealing before you run out of sales slots. Now, like any MMO player, I'm also an armchair designer. So, of course, one of the things that I thought about while I was doing this, especially doing it in the way that I'm doing with almost no risk and pretty good time efficiencies, is this an exploit, and more importantly, is it game-breaking? At first I thought it might be, because I was making a lot more money than I would be able to do otherwise with a new character with very little resources and experience. But I have to say, after playing for a while and having some characters in sort of middling levels, I have to say it's not really that dangerous to the overall economic health of the game. And the reason is this. These runs with this character, this newbie character, takes a little over 20 minutes, and at the end of it, I'm going to pick up maybe about 2,000 gold and a couple of recipes and items that I would be able to use. But at later levels, that's not really such a good return on your time investment if you're just talking about like cash and progress for time. And you're also giving up the ability to do things like kill things and level up in your primary skills and what have you. You're giving up some, so there's a certain amount of lost opportunity cost there. Now, in this run through the ship, unlike my previous run, I am going to be stealing things like you just saw me loot some metal armor and some leather armor off of racks that are in the below decks area, and I'll do that again. I'll slow it down so you can see where they are in the second ship as well. Normally, I do not recommend stealing these items on ships because you need the inventory slots for things that can actually make you money. And those things don't actually pay very well. Yeah, you can reprocess them into ingots and leather and whatnot, but it's not really worth it, and it's definitely not worth it trying to launder the items and give to your other characters so that they can then level up their clothing or blacksmithing skill. It just costs too much, and they can just do it themselves. So really, only do these things if you want them for a craft that that particular character is doing. Then it makes sense you can take them and deconstruct them at the blacksmiths and the clothing table. Let's see. Yeah, I have some slots left over now, so I'm going to go ahead and steal these, and I'll just do this to show you how you deal with stolen armor and weapons later on after you're done with your stealing run and selling off all your items. And there my inventory is full. So I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to head back to the Outlaws hideout, and I'm going to sell the stuff. Now, normally when I sell stuff, and I was a little bit careless this time, when you go down the list and you see that you don't have all of your slots available to fence, you want to make sure that you sell those green items first, the ones that are worth 300, or a blue item if you're very lucky and got one of those, and to make sure that you get the 250 out of that before you run out of slots. Unfortunately, I'm just selling stuff that costs 30, and so I lose an opportunity to sell that 100 gold piece item down there that I still have. That's fine. I can just let it sit around my inventory, and I'll sell it the next day. So now I'm just going to go ahead and launder the items that I want to launder. There's not really much I want to launder here, but I'm going to hold on to the bits of armor that I stole. And of course, there's a green recipe here that I can't even remember if I have on my main character or not, who's a provisioner, but I just don't care. I'm going to learn it just to get it out of my inventory. So now I'm going to pop out. This is the other exit. This is the east exit from the Outlaws Refuge, which is a little bit closer to the crafting areas. And look here, there's a chest right here. This is a good reason to also steal picks, even though they're not very worthwhile. You should always have picks in your inventory in case you run across something like this, like a simple chest that I'm not very good at because I'm not very good at this game to begin with, and also I'm not paying attention, so I even managed to break one on the last tumbler. But there's another opportunity to gather stuff and gain a little bit of experience. So always pick up some picks and have them in your inventory. So I have some leftover items from those armor racks that I was robbing, so first I'm going to run in here to the woodworker shop. And if it's very rare that you actually find things to ransack that are made of wood, but I happen to find this maple bow, so I'm going to go ahead and deconstruct that and gain a little bit of woodworking experience if you want. I mean, again, this is the problem with picking up items and giving them to other characters. I would have had to launder that and hand it to my woodworker for a really measly little skill gain. So here, blacksmithing, this is where stealing does actually become a little bit game breaking. Blacksmithing is incredibly easy to raise. So first I'm going to just deconstruct all the metal shit that I found in that ship, and I don't know why I have those gauntlets in my inventory. Sometimes I'll see things that are on other characters, but I'm just going to ignore them for now. I don't want to deconstruct them anyway. I'm just going to deconstruct the stuff that I stole from the below decks armor racks, and then I'll deconstruct the weapons if I have any weapons stolen. No, I don't right now. And then I'm going to run over to the clothing table and deconstruct all the clothing items that I stole, and then I'll just quickly go through the standard pattern of stealing stuff in the blacksmith shop and then deconstructing that just so you can see it. And this is a very standard thing. I'm sure a lot of other people do it, and they'll deconstruct stuff and sell the ingots. What I actually do is I just deconstruct stuff and throw stuff in my bank, which is one of the reasons I need to steal, so I can buy more bank slots. It's kind of like George Carlin. You get a bigger house, you can store more shit. So just go into stealth over here, make sure that no NPCs can see you, steal all the things off of this table, steal all the things off of this rack in the back here. They'll vary as to what's in there, but there's usually a whole lot of great swords. Then there's another rack which is next to the clothing table right there. Steal all of that stuff. And then just kind of sidle up off to the left side of that table, and there's a stand there that contains some armor, and you're still hidden from the guy who runs the shop. And you can take all of that stuff as well. Now take a look in your inventory. You should have a whole bunch of more, don't, whatever. And now you have a bunch more stuff to deconstruct. Once in a while you'll find stuff that you actually want to use. I don't care because I'm never going to play this character anyway. So I'm just going to melt down everything that I saw. And you can see how quickly blacksmith is going up in the lower levels and how much iron you get out of this. By the way, stealing armor does become important the higher level your character is, because once you get to level 15 or so and you steal those same items, they're going to be made of steel. So the quality of the vendor trash that you get through the stealing method does not improve with your character level, but the quality of the materials you get from deconstructing weapons and armor that you steal does improve. And here we have a whole bunch of stuff that I'm going to throw in the bank, because this character is only really here to hold on to all these raw materials like the jute and the maple and the iron and the other ores and stuff until my various other characters get up to 3 in resource extraction, so I don't waste a lot of opportunity to get some cool additive materials. So I'm just going to drop stuff in the bank, and this character is done for the day. If I wanted to, I could log on another character, I could do this run again, I could go do something else, which I probably will, because I think I have enough money on my main to not have to worry about this too much. And as you can see, I started at 0 gold. After maybe 20 something minutes of elapsed stealing time, I'm over 2,000. So I can go ahead and buy a backpack upgrade if I want. I can do a little bit of shopping. I basically have a head start in the game that I wouldn't have otherwise had were I starting a brand new character. So there's my stealing pattern for Glenumbra. I hope you found it instructive and enjoyable, and maybe we'll take some of the drudgery out of playing ESO. Thanks for watching.